So when I sit down to play an awesome game of Battletech, this is the format that we usually follow. We sit down, we agree a battle value. 2,000, 3,000, 5,000. If we're doing clans, we want to do 12K at a minimum. So this way we get enough toys on the table, mechs and elementals and support vehicles, things like that. We then pick a mission, and then we blind pick the mechs. So you never really know what you're going to face. And certainly we all have our favorite mechs. I have a lot of favorite mechs. I can't play them all the time, not even in Alpha Strike. There are certain key mechs that you can count on facing if you play against my various lances. But that said, there are certain mechs, whether you're favorite or not, when you face them, there's that moment on the table where you're like, I'm in trouble. Uh-oh. The Stalker is one of them. When I face a Stalker across the table, even if my lance is a really solid lance, this is going to be a challenge. This is really, really going to be a challenge because the Stalker is really, really a premier inner sphere type mech at all tech levels. If we're talking about Succession Wars inner sphere or upgraded with some clan tech, the Stalker just becomes more and more beast for the battle value. And when I play a Stalker and I put it down, I'm like, oh yeah, right? Boom, here's the reveal, a Stalker. And you can just see the reaction of your opponent, even if they have an awesome poker face. So what makes the Stalker really amazing? That's what we were continuing here with my mech reviews, giving you some ideas, not so much the definitive way, because what we're not interjecting here is your own personal play style to have fun, the mission, and the other mechs supporting the various mechs that we're discussing. But I want to offer some key insights that I've learned in playing these mechs with the idea, give you some new things to try, and cut down on your learning curve if you're new to Battletech. So this kind of Stalkerology here that we're talking about, if it would take you 10 games to uncover it, let's get that down to 3 with these ideas. So the first thing you see, a lot of weapons. Heavy armor, okay movement for the tonnage, lots and lots of weapons. Heat is going to be a major problem for this mech. And that said, I do tend, up in the archive, we can talk about this idea of ammo versus energy and heat management. I tend to be an aggressive mech warrior. I tend to gamble, both in wargaming and various board games that I play. I like to take risks. I like to roll the dice. I like to push it and see what we can do. So I do tend to run a little bit hot in my mechs. It's one thing to play a Marauder or a Warhammer where you're cooking off multiple PPCs and other weapons, and it's starting to stack heat, and now you've got some movement modifiers. But even with that, you can tend to play a little aggressive. If you play aggressive with the Stalker, you are going to build heat really fast and now have to deal with shutdowns or kind of firing everything for one turn and then maybe not even firing for another turn. So you really need heat management, heat discipline. So how do we do this? The strength of the Stalker is that you have redundancy at multiple ranges, and that's what makes this mech a beast. If we look at, I use in tandem, or as a great example, the awesome mech. It's awesome. And the reason why the armor and its kind of stats and everything, it's so powerful, it doesn't have any ammo to explode for heat, so you can run a little hotter, but it has redundancy built in. You have the 3 PPCs. When you have 2 or 3 of a weapon, remember, in order to cause damage to your opponent, you've got to go through kind of this idea of dice gates, or this idea, well, first I have to hit you. And there's going to be modifiers stacking that. My movement modifiers, terrain, your movement modifiers, if we have any heat going on, cover, things like that. Then once I hit you, is it in a good location? And by that, is it a place that's already damaged that I want to punch through internals? Is it a headshot? Or is it the first hit of the game and you've got full armor? So there's a lot that goes into actually scoring solid hits. If you have multiple weapons, right? 1 is none, 2 is 1, 3 is some. This is why for the battle value, when we run tanks or we run vehicles, at a minimum, I'm running 2 or 3 or 4 on there. There's no solo vehicles because the battle value is cheap enough that you can get in mass redundancy. Some mechs that are out there that have one weapon class type, like the Thorn. Let's contrast it on the opposite end. The Thorn is a light mech. It has a long-range missile 5-pack, some medium lasers on there. That one LRM 5-pack, it's hit or miss. Now, okay, it's not really going to do a ton of damage for its weight class, but it's one weapon. So vehicles or mechs that mount one weapon, you don't have the redundancy in. And then, of course, there's the ranges. Well, the Stalker has 2 minimum weapons at every single range. You're going to engage at long range, you're going to engage at medium range, and then once you hit the close range, it becomes deadly with the SRMs and the lasers. It just is insane on there. So what this means is you are going to be able to push out redundant damage consistently every single turn. This makes it an anchor mech. An anchor mech is where every mech has a different role. You want to get it not only into the mix, but use it to drive the rest of your lance mates forward and provide that steady, consistent firepower. Once you add in the armor, it has amazing staying power. It really, of course, unless it takes a headshot, everything takes a headshot in Battletech, it goes down. But it has the armor, it has the redundancy, it has the multiple ranges. Tactics-wise, you now have the ability to switch up and engage a mech at a range it's not comfortable. So we can use it as an anchor mech. Let's contrast it with the Griffin, another fabulous stock Griffin that I love to run. It's got the PPC, it's got the LRM, I believe it's a 10-pack on there, and at this range, at the long range, it's a great sniper mech. It's got good armor, it's got decent speed for repositioning, it deals out nice 10 or around 10 damage. Good, nice. But if you close with a mech that's short range, even say something like a Jenner that has the speed to get up there and hit me with the medium lasers and the SRM, I don't want to hang out at that range because we're going to get under the minimums of my PPC and of my LRM. The Stalker can engage at long range and hold its own. If I can get to medium or short range, I can now pick on that Griffin, or I can pick on other mechs. You don't have to worry about your opponent taking a mismatched ranged mech and throwing it up against the Stalker because you can deal with any type of range. That's tactically, that is solid. The last piece, the parting shot, the alpha strike, the kind of what I like to call tactically, you're not getting any salvage. So you're surrounded. This is kind of the allure of Battletech. You're taking massive amounts of damage. Things are going into internals. Well, the Stalker doesn't have arms, but if you had an arm, your arm gets blown off, right? Your hip is kind of messed up. You're just taking massive amounts of damage, and you have to stick out. You have to stick it out. You have to fight it out to the very, very end. At some point, okay, I've got an engine hit. Maybe I took a gyro hit. I'm in trouble, and I'm surrounded by multiple mechs on here. I'm probably going down this round. It's probably going to happen. At that point, you can take the Stalker, and literally, if we're at danger close, I'm surrounded by 4 or 5 mechs, and it's just now a slog fest in there. I'll flip that switch. I'll hit the override. I'll go totally analog. I'll use the iron sights. I will unload every single weapon point blank. I'm probably going to blow up. No salvage for you. But that's the dedication of the Mech Warriors. As a Mech commander, that's the dedication that I demand, and they are ready. Word of Blake fanaticism has nothing compared to how I lead my mechs on there. What we're ready to do it's kind of like Jem'Hadar, right? Victory is life. That's it. Victory at all costs. But I'm already kind of getting into the narrative a little bit too much. But imagine that, right? You have me surrounded. We're pretty banged and messed up. I'm going to go down either way. I hit you with everything. Even at point blank with the long-range missiles on there, that's okay. I'll take that modifier. There is massive redundancy. I can cripple or at least take out your mech in the process. So I'm going to automatically lose the Stalker, but I'm going to take you down with me. There's a certain kind of elegance in that. So at all the levels, the Stalker excels. Solid mech, but you need that heat management, and we need to keep all the weapons at the appropriate range bracket. Fire off the long range when it has the greatest chance of hitting, then switch to the mediums, then switch to the close range on there, and don't try to jump back and forth out of those brackets unless you're surrounded, unless it's 2 internals, unless you've got an engine hit, you're going down. Then we got to do what we got to do.